All right. This is regular board meeting for Tatum ISD. It is now 5:31 on May 13, 2024. We have a quorum. Mr. Williams will lead us in the pledge of allegiance, followed by Mr. Smith giving the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us be here this evening. Watch us and guide us where we make these decisions, and most importantly, thank you for this community, and the children, and the staff here at Tatum. In your name, amen.
Earlier this evening, Ms. Pip Smith-Amos, Mr. Kurt Smith, and Mr. Matt Crawford took the oath of office. Do we have anyone signed up this evening? Okay. I need a motion to approve the consent item as presented, the minutes of the regular board meeting of Tatum Board of Trustees on April 8, 2024, and the 2024 required school program.
Mr. President, so moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Smith,
I second it.
second by Ms. Amy. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None motion carries. Discussion item, information.
Mr. Black?
At this time, we want to take time to recognize our A+ employee. This is the last one for this year. And this individual was nominated by our peers because of going above and beyond. One of the things we try to make sure that the staff understands that regular job duties, that's part of the job description. But one of the things she was nominated for were two important things. One, the communication aspect of creating the campus-wide, really of a thank you type thing of recognizing the good things that goes on with students when it comes to recognition and communication throughout the campus. Am I right? Okay. And then the other part of that would be just the willingness to step in when needed. When you get to talking about right now, this time of year, there's 1,000,001 things going on in the spring. The willingness to step up and be a substitute to take on those roles, because we all can say we got something. I want to take advantage of being selfish of my own conference or whatever. But the willingness to set aside a home to make sure that these things are covered for the district. So, in recognition of going above and beyond, we recognize Ms. Caitlin Buchanan as the A+ employee.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. And you do not have to stay. Y'all are welcome to leave. Oh, that's something to eat.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate it.
All right. Next item is graduation. Again, it's May 23rd, 8 p.m. I have a note here, board superintendent photo, 6:50 p.m. Is that right, Mr. Sloan?
6 o'clock, sir.
6 p.m. We'll make it later than that. Yeah. Yeah, we're not gonna do that. You will, sir, however, need to probably be at the THS gym at 6 p.m. But that is where you get your photo taken with the seniors.
Yeah, I mean, what's the date?
May 23rd. And we will roll in, I'll get y'all a time, we'll kind of roll in maybe toward the end and get our picture in there possibly. Yeah, some of y'all won't be there at 6, including myself. All right, next item we have is testing update. Just to kind of give you an update, we put this on every year, but technically we don't have any results. This is where we stand right now. When we expect any type of accountability to come back. So, do not have anything to share with you tonight as far as any results preliminary wise. Next item is budget update. Mr. Mylum.
So the budget update is going to include some preliminary values, which did drop a little bit. And from what we're gathering from our appraisers, is that it's mostly tied to some natural gas and oil. Obviously, that's a lot part of our tax base. Now, Panola, that side of things got hit a little bit harder. I think it was 34% decline because that's more of the oil and gas portion of ours, which our Rusk County is limited. You know, they didn't, their values kind of hold or still holding tight. So that's why our deficit is still where it's at. Tax collections are, you know, the tax collections are kind of where we anticipated, and obviously the delinquents are getting better from the change we made. So pretty happy about that. Still gaining about 10,000 to 20,000 interest a month on our, not investments, but just the rate of return we're getting on our money markets at the bank. So that's doing pretty good. If you want to go to that second tab, Dr. Christian. So we plugged in a template, all of our property values. I kept Rusk County, what the property value, preliminary value was, I increased it by about 4%, because generally Rusk County gives us, they kind of sandbag a little bit for budgeting reasons. They don't want to come back and say your property value is lower than we said, so they kind of undercut us a little bit. So I said, all right, let's raise it 4%, but keep Panola the same, because they're usually different in areas, are usually about the same as their certified values that we get later this summer. And so there's where we're at. We've seen this document before, but this, you know, this is kind of where our goal is, to get the 12 cent, which is 1 penny less than last year's tax rate. And that's going to get us out here to this part, 1.752 additional revenue prior, compared to the prior year.
You'll recall last meeting, we had not met with the attorney group to make sure this was something that was, first of all, it was legal. And we wanted to run it by them because, again, we will be the first district to have ever done this in the state. Only 2 other ones have done, I think it was 3 pennies, the most they've ever done, and that was just equal. We're going to be below. So we just want to make sure we have all our bases covered there, and they said we were. So,
One quick thing I want to point out is, since the property value dropped, and we're still trying to stick with our INS a little bit lower than that will cover our debt within that one window. If you look on the right over here, can you scroll down a little bit? So this would be the shortage on our INS side every year. 290 for that year, 213 that year, too. So if we add up all the shortages throughout the end of the last bond, the last payment, it'd be about 1.6 million. But if you scroll over here, Dr. Christian, we have a surplus. Where did I put that?
oh, it's over here.
We're going to have a surplus of about 2.3, so we're good on that side of things. I mean, right now we have a surplus of 2.3, and that doesn't include some interest we might gain later on throughout the next 6-7 years. So even though we're short on payments, now that's saying property value doesn't go up, which we anticipated, you know, over 7-8 years it will. That's without us changing INS rate, and so that's right now. It's current law, EDA money kicking in, probably a little more later on, but we're still good even if we're short on the INS side, and without us even changing the INS rate. So we're pretty good, and that's without even doing any refinances or refunding or cash efficiency. So we think we're pretty good on the INS side because we've done such a good job. You guys have approved things that we've done in the last 3 or 4 years by doing that refunding. It's paying off right now. Hopefully we'll pay off in November. And maybe refund one more year to get that a little bit lower, and that is a little bit lower toward the very end, where the INS could almost be wiped off the page. So I submitted this to our ORIC, which is our bond counsel that Dr. Richardson, who they were talking about, we're working closely with. I submitted all our documents to them, they're coming up with the board language. They're coming up with a calendar, when things have to be done, our efficiency audit, we're in full swing with that right now. We gotta hold off on that because we really can't complete it too early. We gotta be within 4 months of November 5th. So I think everything's in place. There's a small fee that, Dr. Richardson negotiated with the bond council for a small fee to kind of help us through this process. That'll be on next year's budget though. If you want to go over any of the stuff that.
I think, we went over this last time.
Okay, okay. All right, that's all I got about that.
And then, let's see. I guess, you had something about the, property value discussion. Is that kind of what?
Right, that's what that covered with the property value.
Because I put the Vader down. Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. All right, we'll keep bringing it back to you and talking it out more and more. All right, I believe instructional materials review and adoption, that would be this one. If I'm following this correct, am I in the right? No, gym floor, I got the old agenda, sorry. All right, gym floor, Mr. Andrews, you're gonna speak on that topic. Y'all remember Todd Andrews, our maintenance, transportation, a little bit of everything, sir, guy.
Greetings. So just a little timeline on what we did with the gym floor when it flooded on April 9th. That evening we got here and it was flooding. And so our guys got the process going to remove the water out of the gym floor. Actually made a little makeshift drainage system. We had the roof drain failed through the volume of water that was coming off the roof. There's 2 90s in the gym. That the water on a 6-inch drain that comes down, they failed. So we patched it, it held, and then we fixed it a little bit better the next day. And then, so our insurance, we contacted them. Cavalry came in, we called Cavalry, and they came running. That's a joke. They came in and set up equipment there in the gym to begin the drying process. It was over 7 days there, different places in the gym where they were trying to do their best to dry and draw moisture out of the floor. The first,
Let me interrupt real quick. This is the pipe that busted
correct.
right here.
In the top, the very top, Dr. Richardson, you can see 2 90s. From this picture, one that goes, to the right, and one goes to the right, one goes to the left. So it failed right there where your cursor is on that corner there. And it was like a waterfall coming out there. So by the time we got there, it was pretty much about 80% of the floor over to our left. If you look at that picture. So they began drying the floor. The first field report told us that that's a picture of the roof drain there coming off a 4-inch. There's 4 of those in there. That's actually directly under the 2 90s there. Some of the edge there. Some measurements they had, moisture in the floor. Their first field report told us, okay, there you can see where some little waves in each one of those pieces of maple there. They would refer to that as cupping in the floor, which they found and they put in their report. And then back to their first field report, they said the damage seems to be a little bit worse than initially anticipated on the gym floor. So it was reported back to us that our adjuster came out and looked at the floor, actually looked at all of our buildings in the district, said it would be a loss. So we received some quotes on the floor, on replacing the gym floor. And you can see there from Elite 125 there, that has the warranty there at the bottom, yes. And then we also had 2 other quality hardwood floors, 146 there for their quote. And then the Sanchez janitorial service, they came and quoted us as well for replacing the floor. We also received, to help prevent this from happening again, we want to change a little bit of the plumbing in the gym to where the 4-inch roof drains, we're gonna have to keep those due to the way it was designed. But instead of running it inside with the 290s, we want to go through the wall there, straight out the wall. It's just about 12 inches or so outside that wall, and it comes straight down the outside of the building into the storm drain that runs out to the corner of the property by Dairy Queen. So we had a quote for that. We have another one coming. They've already been here. We haven't received that yet, and a quote for that as well to replumb that. And then we also have a couple of quotes for new bleachers for the gymnasium. To install some new bleachers there. We kind of did a little investigating on different placement of when we went back with the floor, if we move it to try to maybe add in some more seating and all, but due to egress and the size and all, it just didn't pan out to get any additional seating there. We thought about going higher, but then it would take away the egress in front by the gym floor where the teams sit and all that. So we're going back with pretty much the same footprint as we had before. We'd like to with the specialty supply there. And then the top one, Dr. Richardson, was the cavalry restoration. Where they came in and set up their equipment.
But, you know, this was who they called. Tasby contacted them. We did not contact them.
That's correct.
And so that's going to be covered through them. And Mr. Ball, you might want to talk about what's going to be covered and what we're thinking that's going to be covered and all that.
So in a minute, if you scroll down, I'm gonna ask for that much money for the board to increase our budget. Because we cannot write a PO for money that doesn't get approved through the budget system. So we're gonna ask you guys to approve that amount of money for us to spend. Okay, scroll up. So those top 3 things, I've been assured that that's covered, that's a covered loss, is what the insurance says, that's a covered loss. And I said, well, our bleachers, we have to take them apart to put the floor underneath it. I mean, we gotta take the bleachers out. And so they said, well, add that to it also. Now, whether or not they're gonna cover the bleachers or not, that's one thing or another. Now, we won't know that, so I'll submit this tomorrow morning, given that you guys have approved the 243. So we'll submit it, top 3 gets approved, and they come back and say, well, we don't think we need to, part of the loss is not the bleachers. We'll take them apart, put them back together, and put them back in place. So if they don't cover it, that's what we'll do. But if they cover it, then we're gonna try to get some new bleachers in there. Because my complaint to them and my justification was, we take these bleachers apart and we put it back together, are they gonna operate as they did before? Because they're pretty old and there's a lot of little pieces that they have to put together, take apart, detach it from the wall, move it around, put the new floor in and move it back on the new floor. And there's just a lot of things in play there as opposed to get it out, demo it, take it out, get a new floor, and come back in September is when they're gonna have to put the new bleachers in, because the parts for the new floor or the new bleachers will not come until September. But we're fine there with, the floor's gonna be there, we can still volleyball. We may not be able to host a tournament if there's one early on, but we've got 3 other gyms that we can take care of that. So we're good there. But we're not gonna pay for new bleachers for $67,000 if we can use the ones we have now, if they don't cover it. If we could cover it, then we can move forward.
And we're only talking, our bucket pool is $25,000 for all of this. But,
Seems like not, replacing the bleachers would be a liability on their part. It looks like they'd want to, putting them back up.
So this price does include removing the bleachers and putting them back. So that people that do the floor subbing it out to another group who's removing it and putting it back in. So if we get to the point where they approve us for $67,000 for new bleachers, then I'm assuming that will probably be a little bit lower because he's not going to have to deal with bleachers. Now, whether he's gonna, Elite Refinishers is gonna say that or not, we're not sure, because it's not actually dictated in their quote. But I feel like we used them before. They did the high school gym a while back, the Coliseum. But the bleacher guy, he's done all our bleachers too. I think he did middle school, high school, and elementary.
We covered and refinished.
Do what?
We covered and refinishing them as well.
Right, so this, Elite Refinishers, if they do the gym floor, which that's what we're hoping that you guys approve, they will extend the warranty every time they refinish it. Can you hit on that Elite Refinishers blue highlight? Sure. And blow that up and go to the very last line. I want you to extend it each year. Okay, I want to make sure it's that right.
Also, too, can I add something?
Yes, sir.
The flooring, at the middle school, I'm not sure the year it was put in, but, currently, right now, at the middle school gym, it has cross members 2x3s that run around the short distance of the floor, which is standard at the time it's put in. And then the maple runs the length of the floor, right? It's 1-inch maple that runs, and that's all it's under, that's all the floor is, it's on concrete. And so, the new flooring, and I guess new technologies come up with, they'll put the 2x3 runners like this, but then they put plywood on top of that. So what that does is a couple things. It gives a little bit extra spring on the floor, because you have that solid piece of plywood over the 2x3 runners. And also when they attach the maple, whereas before the 2x3s are on 10-inch centers. And so you had to either go to this center or this center to nail. Now, the whole floor you'll be able to nail whenever they install it. This way, you're going to be able to nail the maple at the end of the pieces there. So it's a little bit flatter, more sturdy, because your nails can go to the end of your maple pieces instead of just on the 10-inch centers. It's just something newer in the way of installing floors.
All right, I need a motion to approve an increase of expenditures in function 81 not to exceed $245,000 for repairs at Taylor Middle School from the April 10, 2024 school. I'll make some motion. A motion by Mr. Crawford,
Mr. President, second.
a second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None motion carries.
We also have a budget amendment for transportation expenditures.
Yes, I don't have anything or a document for that.
So, I believe we decided on 30. What do we have? 50. No, there's another for 30, maybe moving some money. Yes, we need to increase expenditures, $50,000 to cover maintenance. We feel like that's gonna cover the rest of the year. If you remember, we did this at the end of the year, last summer. We get toward the end of the year to see where we're at, and we were short because electric bill was so high. We talked about the electric bill with the more you use, the more it costs. It's not a linear, it's exponential. And so we got a lot of use there at the end. Our electric bill is a little bit more than I budgeted for. And so we actually are doing a better job. Todd has done a lot better job with contract labor, doing things that we can ourselves, but obviously having to farm out some things that we don't have equipment for, or training or certifications for. So if that's good with you guys, I'd like to ask for about $50,000 put in function 51. Did I say 34? Okay, I'm thinking about the next one, then. Sorry. The function 34 is transportation, yes. That's what we're asking for. Because we had some buses go down, we had a big expenditure on one bus that we spent a lot of money into, but we've got it working pretty close, so we do need $50,000 in transportation. The next one's gonna be, where I'm gonna move money in that actually.
All right, I need a motion to approve adding $50,000 function 34 for additional transportation expenditures.
Mr. President, so moved.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second. Second by Mr. Skinner. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None motion carries.
The next item is the tax collection interlocal agreement. This is something, if you'll recall, that we have contracted with Panola County to do our property taxes. We're currently contracted with Russ County up until this next October. And so this is a similar agreement, just as the one we have in Russ County, Panola. We verified this is what the school districts have. And so it'll be about $2,500 annually. Hopefully we will have a savings coming when we do Russ County again, because they're not collecting our Panola taxes. So definitely should come down. And currently we're at 40,000 with you. So just need a motion to approve this contract that's presented.
All right, I need a motion to approve the tax collection interlocal agreement with Panola County as presented.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Amy. Is there a second?
Mr. President, I so second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None motion carries.
Next item is our proclamation 2024 instructional materials review and adoption, and it is quite lengthy, and Ms. Malone is here tonight to give us the rundown on that, and then also certification of provision of instructional materials. So Ms. Malone,
Yes, sir.
the floor is yours.
Well, the first thing is our science textbook adoption. We started back in September, creating a committee and just through the process through different teachers having favorites over the years. We went to a Region 7 showcase where all the textbook people were there and kind of got some feedback on the teachers with that. We've had two presentations where people came actually to our district on our staff development days to present, to try to fine tune this process, because when you have so many science teachers, you want to make sure that we're all on the same page as much as possible, and it's a big investment. The two that it narrowed down to was HMH and STEM Scope. HMH focused on K-8 only, and when we started asking the why behind it, because ultimately you would like a K-12 curriculum just for continuity, but it was because they wanted to focus in on the science concepts. When you get to high school, it's specialties, chemistry, anatomy, and it's real hard for those companies to take on all of that. So they really focus in on the K-8, and probably the favorite part of me and being a former elementary principal is that they do a lot of the science teaching instruction through reading, because science is kind of seen as a separate entity in the lower grades, and because reading and math by nature take precedent. And so we are already at HMH school with reading. That was what we adopted about 4 or 5 years ago, I think. And so it just kind of goes hand in hand with something that we are already doing. And both STEM Scope and HMH have what they call these pre-lab kits. So at the beginning of every school year, as a former science teacher, that's what ate my lunch, being at Lowe's on a Sunday afternoon, getting fertilizer for the plants you're going to plant, or Ziploc bags for the lab you want to create. So at the beginning of every school year, they have these pre-made lab kits. So they'll come in these big boxes. Every lab that's in the curriculum will already have all the paper clips and all the stuff that they need already organized, and they'll get a new kit at the beginning of each school year to help be a time saver for our teachers, mostly. The second part of HMH and the selling point is they have a component with writable, and as most of you know, writing is another difficult concept to teach because it's time consuming. Just like science in the science lab, if you've ever sat and graded a bunch of essays, it's time consuming. Well, writable has a short answer response for our students in science, so they type it in and it's AI graded. So we've heard a lot of things about AI, pros and cons of it, but it's at least going to be able to give our students immediate feedback. And then because we are already HMH ELAR, they said, well, we'll make the deal a little bit better for you, and we'll cover your ELAR teachers as well. So that will be a separate training later after we get the science rolled out. So those are the two biggest selling points for HMH over STEM Scopes. Our high school teachers did like STEM Scopes well enough to keep that as what they would recommend for our high school teachers. So This is all with IMA money. This is not coming from our budget. Mr. Miles may want to bring in here. Each biennium, we get about 200,000 in IMA funds to spend, and Mr. Milam and I kind of sit down and figure out like where we want to. We saw the science textbook adoption on the radar 2 summers ago, so we kind of held back. We have 134,000 currently in IMA that's left over, and we're going to get a new allotment this summer. We don't know exactly what that will be, but most schools are using what they get this summer for this science textbook adoption. We're going to be able to cover almost 100%, if not 100%, once all the discounts are applied with what we already have sitting there. So, any questions about that piece? Okay. And then the other part is the TEAC certification, Dr. Richardson, I think. And that's something every May you guys as a school board have to sign off on, that our students have 100% access to TEAC's curriculum and materials. And the only thing I really have to say about that is, a lot of things in social media is they're teaching new math. They're teaching this. No, we're teaching the TEACs. We're teaching what the state of Texas tells us we have to teach, and our students have access to all of what the state requires us to teach. A lot of that, and those are all resources that we use to teach it. But ultimately, our TEACs is what our teachers are trying to get to our students.
Thank you.
Did you need to talk to me?
No, we're good. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the proclamation 2024 instructional materials review and adoption as presented?
Make a motion.
Have a motion by Mr. Amy, is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Williams. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None, motion carries. Okay, I need a motion to approve the certification of provision of instructional materials as presented.
Mr. President, so moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Smith. Is there a second? A second by Mr. Crawford. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None, motion carries. Okay. Board now convenes to close meeting, discuss the following items posted on our agenda this evening as allowed by Texas Government Code 551.074 involving the resignations and employment of professional employees, review of return contract for professional employees and a contract for change for professional employee for the 2024-25 school year. No vote will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in closed meeting will take place after the board reconvenes from open meeting. It is now 6:04.